Square Enix was quite busy last year, releasing a plethora of new RPGs in the span of a few months. We're only weeks into 2023, and the company shows no signs of slowing down with the release of Forspoken, the first major title from Luminous Productions. The team behind the previously named Project Athia consists of a large portion of Final Fantasy XV staff, as well as several big industry names like Gary Whitta and Amy Hennig contributing to the game's narrative. So naturally expectations are high, perhaps none more than CEO Yosuke Matsuda, who stated his lofty belief that Forspoken should stand alongside Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest in terms of sales, quality, and global appeal. Fair or not, Forspoken bears the weight of the Square Enix branding and legacy.
Excuse me? Your phone. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. No worries. Happens to all of us. You saved my life, seriously. Happy holidays. Happy holidays.
The game stars Frey, a young woman struggling to make ends meet in New York City when a twist of fate brings her to another world called Athia. There, Frey is bound to a sentient vambrace she dubs Cuff, and the duo form an uneasy alliance as they attempt to navigate a strange new world, as well as their newfound powers. The banter between Frey and Cuff slightly misses the mark. While it has its moments and grows on you after a few hours, most of the time the dialogue between the two just comes off as awkward and unnatural.
So if we are bonding...
Correction, bonded.
There are a few options to tone down the level of interaction between them, and it's highly recommended to change it to a lower setting to maintain your sanity.
Stop! Stop talking! This is completely insane!
Yet Forspoken's broader narrative is more up to the task. Its mysteries are certainly captivating as you learn about the toxic miasma that brought this world nearly to ruin, and why the four leaders responsible for protecting their citizens either abandoned their charge or became violent dictators mad with power. Not to mention there are hard-hitting emotional moments and a handful of genuinely surprising twists along the way. The story provides a different perspective for a hero than the usual fare, and this refreshing new take is most welcome and will have you rooting for Frey by the end.
Did you not just see me take out that gnarly beast? Oh, bring it, you mangled monsters!
Much like the writing, Forspoken's combat system has its ups and downs. For the most part, it's a wonderful new take on fantasy-based battles that feels like an evolution of past efforts, such as Final Fantasy XV and Kingdom Hearts. Primarily relying on spells and magic, the game slowly peels back the layers of this intricate system by doling out only one type of magic every few hours. While this allows you to easily grasp the basics of each new type, the combat system really is at its best when it all comes together.
We need to take this thing down and fast.
You'll only hurt more innocents if we don't.
Unfortunately, Frey doesn't tap into all of her core abilities until fairly late in the story, so for much of the game, her toolkit feels noticeably incomplete. It's most evident in the early hours when you're restricted to ranged magic, making battles feel like a third-person shooter. After unlocking your melee kit, the flow of combat definitely improves, but it just doesn't feel as distinct and impressive until you have all four types accessible. The combat also opens up further once you obtain your various traversal skills, especially the ability to quickly dash around or run up walls to evade opponents and counter their attacks. Also, as you level up and complete various tasks in the world, you earn mana used to upgrade and unlock new spells within each of the four types. Experimenting with how to invest your mana comes at virtually no risk, since you can refund almost every spell upgrade if you want to try out another. This works very well because the game's environments, enemies, and activities really encourage you to try out different abilities. And while it's initially daunting to have so many skills at your disposal, when it all clicks, it feels incredibly satisfying.
There it is!
Casting spells looks amazing in action, especially when you're unleashing countless abilities back-to-back in a struggle for your life. Battles really draw out the impressive nature of the combat visuals by occasionally throwing massive amounts of enemies at you at once. The performance does take a hit every now and then, but when you've got dozens of enemies in close proximity or a massive boss appears, it's a type of chaos that leaves you in awe of what you're witnessing on screen. Just be warned that the camera work and targeting system do sometimes cause the occasional speed bump.
Come on!
Pairing well with their spellcasting and combat, Frey's traversal techniques are equally as gratifying, making getting around a breeze. Obviously, there's the option of fast travel with lightning-fast load times as you uncover certain landmarks, but you still need to reach them in the first place. First off is the flow ability that lets you dash forward and leap up walls with blinding speed. It's simple to use, offering so much freedom to explore, and as you unlock new powers, you can do unbelievable feats like grappling up cliffs or swinging across large gaps. Don't be surprised if you find yourself constantly trying to see if you can reach certain spots. It's this integral ingredient that marks some of the best open-world games, and Forspoken nails the sense of wonder in freely exploring a haunting yet riveting world. Obviously, there's more to do than simple sightseeing. Within each of the game's massive zones are dozens of points of interest with various activities to accomplish. These include simply scouting an area for a piece of lore that adds more background to a region, defeating a group of enemies to unlock a treasure chest, and using your traversal skills to work out a path to a hard-to-reach destination. There are also more involved labyrinths that feel like simple dungeons with boss encounters at the end, but nothing nearly as complex as some of the main story objectives.
Oh, damn!
Rewards for each activity vary, including gaining mana to upgrade spells, increases to various attributes like health and defense, raw materials needed for crafting items, or new pieces of stylish gear with special properties that can enhance Frey's powers. It definitely checks a lot of the boxes of your typical open-world experience, but there are a handful of activities that definitely stand out, specifically uncovering hidden or secluded paths, or the few challenge trials that require you to reach a goal within a time limit using your platforming prowess.
Whoa. Is that a cat?
Oh, there are also a lot of side quests involving cats. Early on, you can follow them around town to earn a reward, but later in the open world, they take on a more exotic form as familiars, where you have to approach them carefully and befriend them without scaring them off. The more cats you adopt, the more that will show up at rest points to provide you with adorable antics and plenty of petting, purring, and belly rubbing. Given Frey had to leave her own cat Homer behind in New York, it feels only right to indulge her by spending lots of time with these feline friends.
Oh, well, thank you, but my birthday isn't for another few days.
Forspoken boasts a solid foundation, but it might not always be clear that you're free to do what you want. In the lead-up to the first major encounter with one of the world's rulers, you're turned loose in their domain to explore at your leisure. Yet at other similar moments in the game's story, the guided nature of the narrative sometimes blinds you to the fact that you're in an open world and have the opportunity to deviate off the path. You can technically just race through the main storyline and reach the conclusion in about 20 hours or so, but those wishing to experience much of what this game has to offer can end up with a playtime easily above the 50-hour mark. Though it might not be as iconic as Bear McCreary's recent effort with God of War Ragnarok, Forspoken's main theme certainly stands out with its mix of hip-hop and fantasy, and the numerous battle themes are equally up to the task with their frantic vibes. He's joined by veteran composer Gary Shyman, and you can definitely hear the similarities to BioShock in many of the game's overworld tracks, with their haunting choirs and bewildering melodies.
This may not be good. Her anger is fueling her power.
Well, you know what? She's not the only one who's pissed off.
After all is said and done, Forspoken emerges as a solid new IP. It has its fair share of issues, but the longer you spend time in Athia, the more its world draws you in with its intriguing combat and the simple pleasure of freely crossing massive environments with spellbinding abilities. Luminous Productions is definitely onto something with this concept. It just needs a bit more focus and refinement. At the very least, Forspoken proves its worth on its own terms and demonstrates the potential to someday hang alongside Square Enix's staple franchises. Final score, 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching our review. We're Easy Allies. We've been writing about games for decades, and we also do podcasts, streams, shows, and more, all funded by regular viewers just like you. Head to patreon.com/easyallies to pitch in and get rewards, and be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay connected on YouTube. See you soon.